Well, move over, Andrew. There's a new kid in town. That's the gist of a New York Post column today, forecasting future headaches for Governor Cuomo. In the column, unnamed prominent Democrats suggest that Cuomo may find himself facing another primary in 4 years from the mayor of New York City. That, of course, could only happen if Cuomo were to win re-election in November, which the polls suggest he will. And this is all fallout from the governor's uninspired performance in last week's Democratic primary. Joining us now, the author of that column, our political analyst, the state political columnist for the New York Post, Fred Dicker, joining us from Albany. Fred, good to have you with us. Interesting. 4 years is an eternity for all of us, but I'm sure that it's probably already put wheels in motion, this story, or the facts behind, or whatever you've been able to find out behind the story.
That's right, Liz. I mean, really what this is about is that last week's extraordinary primary, where the governor was only able to get about 60% of the Democratic vote, his own party's vote, has pointed to a degree of vulnerability for the governor that wasn't really recognized before. There were hints of it in polls, but here was solid proof that the governor really could have been vulnerable. My column today quotes an unnamed Democrat as saying that if Bill de Blasio, the New York City mayor, had run against the governor last week, and Bill de Blasio is a left-of-center type Democrat, he might have beaten the governor last week. The column, though, let me just correct something. The column, though, does name the source of the person predicting a de Blasio challenge against Cuomo in 4 years, and that was Mark Green. You may recall that Mark Green almost beat Mike Bloomberg in the race for mayor in 2001 and was the city's public advocate. So he is a prominent Democrat in the city. He's actually predicting that either Bill de Blasio or Eric Schneiderman, the Attorney General, assuming he's reelected, would run against Governor Cuomo in 4 years, assuming Cuomo's reelected, a couple of assumptions there, because of this unhappiness in the Democratic Party with the governor that became clear last week.
Is there likely to be anybody else sort of popping up out of the woodwork because they do see little, just a little opportunity, a little daylight?
Well, I think it's possible, but these two, Bill de Blasio and Eric Schneiderman, are really amongst the three or four most prominent Democrats in the state. So I think if one of them did it, and we won't know for a while yet, but one of them ever did that, probably no one else would try it.
What about, and talk a little bit about de Blasio, because it seems as if he had just sort of built up an alliance with the governor in recent days. I mean, there seemed to be a separation, and now it seems as if there's a coming together again.
No, you're absolutely right. Publicly, anyway, Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, who is a left-of-center Democrat, was helping the governor. He opposed Zephyr Teachout. He has supported the governor's choice for lieutenant governor. But behind the scenes, even as we speak, there's ongoing tension between the two. Many of the Zephyr Teachout supporters are Bill de Blasio's backers. And behind the scenes, no one doubts that Bill de Blasio is a very ambitious politician who'd like to move on from being mayor of New York City. And the next place to go, of course, would be to try to go to become governor of the state of New York.
Just quickly, how entrenched is de Blasio right now in New York City?
How popular is Bill de Blasio?
Yeah.
He's the most recent polls have shown him about 52% approval rating, with an extraordinarily high approval rating, though, amongst African-American voters in particular, about 70%. He's generally pretty popular. He doesn't have too many critics. Of course, that could change as well in the next few years.
Sure. Okay. Well, we'll see where it all takes us.
Sure.
And thank you for an interesting column. And Fred's also on the radio, live from the state capitol. It's weekday mornings, 10 to 11 on Talk 1300 AM. Volunteers from the Albany design firm Stantec were on a mission today to beautify parts of downtown Troy and Albany. As part of a company-wide community service day, teams of volunteers were hard at work. One team in Troy repainted the Arts Center's Black Box Theater there. And over in Albany, the greenskeepers planted between Broadway and Quay Street, which is a primary connector between downtown Albany and the Corning Riverfront. The supplies used were also donated by Stantec. The company had 5,500 employees around the globe volunteering in their communities today.